It is a tragedy for me to have to expose people like Owen Jones as sandbaggers because I found his work about Gaza to be very important to um, accepting that much time required my attention. John Stockwell was from the National Security Council and ran CIA operations in Angola. He became prominent among disaffected intellectuals, the Chomsky Brigade, the trendsetters of fashionable left wing intelligence, by going public with remarks about um, the terrible, pompous people in charge of high command. And one of the things he said about Grenada was the largest superpower on earth went after one of the smallest countries with all its might, and that's bound to have some effect. This logic did not sway the tragically pusillanimous vanguard of left wing intelligence circuits in places like Seattle, even though they knew they had a neurotraumatized deaf child washing up from the brick streets of the city of Pittsburgh, which gives you some grasp of what motivates me to discuss this, because even though they have ruined forever the land of Gaza with their insane, incessant banging on in favor of David Geffen, and even though they have pushed the whole situation of World War III, they refuse to stop because they think my poetry is fake. It rivals them. That sort of thing. They're not used to being rivaled by a scarecrow from the fields of mobocracy when it comes to the arts and letters. They're devious and stupid people. I'll tell you a little bit about what I don't understand before I tell you some things I do understand. I don't understand why Hamas would provoke the destruction of Gaza, knowing that's what they were doing, why they would claim that some purpose justifies the ends justifies the means. I don't understand how a likeness of Gail Burslem ended up on a Robert Fripp cover in 1979, nor do I understand why that fact isn't noticed, or why the people they claim did something horrid is somehow more endeared to them than a man who tried to warn them. I don't understand how people who are hair splitting about FTA rapid eye movement particulars could possibly deny that failure to warn cost lives. Why would Hamas or the Seattle gay community burn their own? I don't understand. Don't expect me to understand. I know there was a man named Adolf Hitler. I don't understand, but I know it's true. Now, the KKK has changed. It's now the Green Party. They want the good kind of minority people under a God law system that sportsmen arranged an anthropology war game clock to the AIDS attack to illustrate their thinking. The Red Scare Cold War thinking of the Bush machine, called Two Virgins Pussy Ball, and John Lennon gave it its name. They used me and tortured me with names like Pussy Ball so that as I grew up, it would gradually sink in that they were talking about something real. during my formative years. The KKK was known as the Invisible Empire. It now goes by things like Hidden Pun Records. One of the hidden puns was Everett Koop, the man who sent out a flyer to every American home warning them about the dangers of AIDS. Coop is like chicken coop. They were playing a game of chicken. There was a Jewish girl who set up an entrapment, a Venus flytrap of a girl with needle tracks and a tattoo of the Grim Reaper pointing at her vagina. This Jewish girl made trips to Pittsburgh. She knew Sharon Glick and Gail Burston, I would warrant. And Abira Ali also knew Will Zell, who lured me to Mount Desert Island through the Gurdjieff cult of Robert Fripp of King Crimson. These poachers put together a two virgins war game for Trump and Putin as part of a leapfrog oligarchy that has envisioned a multipolar enterprise recombining into a new unipolar enterprise they will call the right-wing Green Party. Those are things that I know. And as I explained, there are some things I don't know. I don't understand why a person saying that he's trying to help people like himself, gay people, would cover for Weasel and Tunnel for assassins of those same people. I no more understand Owen Jones than I understand that man's sin war. Why would they provoke the destruction of their own people? I don't understand that. Literally, I don't comprehend it. It makes no sense to my mind. If it makes sense to your mind, well, kindly explain it instead of gaslighting people with stupidities. Because it is extremely stupid to sit there throwing temper tantrums about your own policies. It's the policies of people supporting the Jeffin Corporation that led to the catastrophe in Gaza. They refused to legitimately investigate what I told them over and over and over again with substantial information showing that the whole thing was organized. Now, the way Pittsburgh played it was as a diversion. They had this diversion, right? Jimmy got his ass kicked, they said. I was kidnapped and tortured and put through a horrifying Manson ordeal. My tongue could not handle the horror of expressing what they had done. It was synthesized as a Holocaust simulation representation. I was gassed, kidnapped, tortured, gassed, hiding my towel closet. They said, don't say like Anne Frank. It was intended to simulate Anne Frank. They called it special education. This is the city of Pittsburgh provincial norm. They can do that to any one of your children and call them a goy. They talk about hate crimes. They spelled squirrel, S-Q-U-R-L. Take the I-R-E out, right? Because Lenin doesn't like S-Q-U-R-Ls. So, we know how that model operates. They had a diversion. Jimmy got his ass kicked. Now he's whining because he got rejected by a girl he was cheating on anyway. He was a mess. He got rejected by her. And once they had that diversion set up, they worked it to distraction. They played all of these cruel games in sports. And not one single fact was allowed to penetrate their ghoulish obsession. Not one single fact. For example, they would not have put a tender 19-year-old virgin in a 32-year-old man's bed who they believed was capable of rape. They wouldn't have done it. They would have been sued like crazy. So the fact that they set up a virgin, which they were calling a sacrificial virgin afterwards, was to frame me in their distraction operation, their presentation about Two Virgins Pussy Ball. And so they're demanding, and they're planning to militarize their demand, that anybody who sleeps with anybody else out of wedlock be exterminated. Okay, that's what they want to do. And Owen Jones is this creep going along with it. Is that what you stand for? The idea that failure to warn doesn't cost lives? Is that what you stand for? Sounds like a backblade. Sounds like a good old fashioned British media setup. So typical of the Tam O'Donnell people. All we need to do is find one queer who can play his role spotlessly, and all the queers will go along with it. Because the Jews have established that nobody likes Jimmy Creary. He's in the dual stages of Parkinson's. He can't lead anybody. Why should we believe him when he was crying and saying, it would have been rape, it would have been rape, it would have been rape, it would have been rape? The promoter called that letter a godsend.